No one's perfect, and we've all made mistakes. We've all made mistakes in tarot readings. But everyone interprets the cards differently anyway. No one really agrees about how to do tarot. So I think it's very important that we have a relaxed attitude towards mistakes. I think it's very important that we have this concept of the oracular moment, as they say. And in this video, I'm going to demonstrate one way that you could deal with quite a serious mistake and still have a completely successful, meaningful tarot reading at the end of it. See what you think. I'm going to do a 12-card spread, and I'm going to make a couple of mistakes in it. And then I'm going to suggest a good way and a less good way to deal with these so-called mistakes. Now, this is a 12-card spread. I'm using the 12 astrological houses. If you're not familiar with this, there is a video about it in my tips and tutorials playlist. But for now, just bear with me. I put down 12 cards, and each card is in one of the astrological houses. Now, I've made a mistake. I've put down 11 cards instead of 12. And, in terms of the pattern on the board, it seems that one was missing there, but we're going to get back to that, how we're going to try to rectify this mistake in the context of a reading. You have to imagine that there is a coherent sitting right there, someone who's turned up. It's a professional engagement, and this person is paying me good money for this. So it needs to work for them, and I need to manage to channel information for them, even though my working everyday brain might not have functioned terribly well at that moment for some reason. But let's not despair. Now, here's what I'm going to talk to you about. I think it's based on a mistake that I actually made once. I've put down 11 cards, and then to complicate matters, I put down an explanatory card. And this is something I do sometimes. If I don't understand a card, I ask the tarot for an extra card to explain it. I say to myself, oh, that's the 8th house, and I'm still feeling that's the 8th house at this point. Reverse 6 of Swords in the 8th house, that's a bit complicated, that's a bit mysterious. I'd like another card to back it up and help me understand it. And I draw that card there. And then I interpret those as a pair to understand the 8th house a bit better. Now, when I'm doing a 12-house reading, I don't do it in sequence. I'd nip around and I interpret the things that I find most interesting. So I might say, oh, that's interesting there, that's interesting there, that's interesting there, that's interesting there, that's interesting there. And I'm saying, look, reversed Empress in the 10th, look, the Tower in the 11th, look, the 3 of Swords in the 12th. And then at some point during this interpretation, I realise I've only got 11 houses down there, and there's a house missing. Now, if you were thinking purely logically, what should have gone down on the table, if I hadn't lost my concentration, what should have happened was this. This card would have still been in the pack. That card would be there. That card would be there. That card would be there. And that card would now be there. Now I could go back on what I've said. If I did that, if I corrected it in that way, I would have to say to my querent, oh, terribly sorry, lost concentration. That's not reversed Empress in the 10th. That's reversed Empress in the 9th. You don't have a Tower in your 11th, you have it in your 10th. You don't have this problematic 3 of Swords in your 12th, you have it in your 11th. And your 12th is this. It's not over there in the 8th explaining the 6 of Swords. It's here. And to explain the 6 of Swords should have been that. Now, if you say that, if you go there, I think you've really lost what they call the oracular moment. The oracular moment is this. Tarot is a surrealistic process. It's a bit mad. It's not entirely rational. It's a bit illogical. You are throwing things down onto the table in a structured way, but the structure is itself beyond rational thought. The process is in itself beyond rational thought. And we have to believe that for all the different ways of doing tarot, all the different ways of interpreting the cards, and all the different tarot readers there are in the world, we have to believe that during this process, the tarot reader and sometimes the querent, we open our minds somehow and we do receive something, some kind of message or some kind of prompting or some kind of perspective from the unconscious, from the beyond, if you like, from the spirit guides. My feeling is that what is said in the oracular session is what needs to be said, mistakes and all. Don't go back. Don't do what I just did. Leave that there. Now, I think if you have interpreted that as the 10th, it's the 10th. If you said that was the 11th, it's the 11th. If you said that's the 12th, that's the 12th. And I think then you say, oh, there's no 9th. And you take a new card for the 9th. You don't talk about that being the next card in the pack. You're the tarot reader. You make up your rules. You can be as fantastical and as crazy as you want. What we're doing is a bit fantastical and crazy. Okay? There's just one other thing I'd like to say. It is possible to just misread cards, to not quite see what's on the table. Now, I'm in London at the moment. I don't have my full collection of packs with me. So I'm not really in a position to find a pack for you where there are two cards that are really a bit ambiguous. I mean, in the Oculi Occultati, for example, the Two of Cups looks very like the Ten of Cups, because in the Ten of Cups, they just have a male couple with no children. There is a rainbow, but it's just two guys, two mermen. And in the Two of Cups, they have the same thing. So I have in the past confused those two cards. I think once when I was tired, I was using a pack where there was some similarity between the Pope and the Devil. And I mean, a bit of a disaster, really. You say, oh, you know, down this one goes. You say, oh, there's the Pope in the fourth house. And it's not the Pope, is it? It's the Devil. Even though the Devil and the Pope, they are kind of, the Pope, the Devil is a kind of parody of the Pope. That kind of mistake, I think you can address it. You can talk to the client about it. You know, you can talk to the client about your own brain malfunctions. I mean, you definitely have to acknowledge any kind of mistake that happened. But I think you can acknowledge it in a very confident way, in a way that insists that the space is still your own space, and that you understand yourself, that you acknowledge yourself as an imperfect human being, but nevertheless someone through whom this information is, frankly, being channeled. I think in that situation, if I had a querent sitting opposite me, I would say, oh, that's interesting. I thought that was the Pope, but it's not. It's the Devil. I got a Pope feeling when I was looking at that Devil card. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what happened. You know, you looked at it and you got a Pope feeling. So interpret that. Interpret the mistake. Don't try to undo it. Don't tell the clients to try to unhear what you've already said. Allow the words that you've said to be the oracular moment. And if necessary, build on them. Continue to make your connections and to tell your stories. Continue to interpret what happens during the session. And that will be the oracular moment. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Mistakes. Tell me what you think in the comments section down below. I'd love to hear your stories of tarot readings that you have maybe rescued or not rescued, as the case may be. And anyway, I'll see you next week. Bye. If you've enjoyed this video, you might like to consider subscribing to my channel. It makes a difference. Thank you.